Hello everyone and welcome to a return to the channel actually. I haven't uploaded in what seems like forever in terms of making an actual video, but I'm back and I'm making some content. So today we are analyzing the matchup that I think I'm kind of surprised I've never heard before because it's actually quite an interesting fight. It is Guts from Berserk versus Denji from Chainsaw Man. I think this fight is actually pretty close, and I think there's a lot of narrative similarities between these two characters, so I thought it'd be a really fun analysis to do. I'll be going over both characters' stats, tactics, and abilities, and seeing who would come out on top. For this battle, I am using Fantasia Guts, using the Berserk armor in Berserk mode, and for Denji, I am using Control Devil Arc, Chainsaw Devil Denji, during his fight with the hybrids and Makima. Starting with Guts, Guts is pretty renowned for being just one of the most avid fighters and survivors in anime. This guy has fought in literally dozens to possibly hundreds of apostles throughout the story of Berserk, and his feats really do suggest this. Guts' AP or AP and durability should probably scale to Mosgus's Fire Breath. This scales to around 119 tons of TNT or around multiple city block level. And he should upscale heavily from this, as base human form Mosgus is like way weaker than Berserk Armor Guts and has surpassed Mosgus numerous times. So he should only be higher than this. As for Guts' speed, when fighting Genshika, he was able to dodge lightning when he was wearing the Berserk armor, which should put him around a percent of the speed of lightning. And using this calc here, we get that this is around a Mach 98 speed feat, meaning Guts is pretty fast and going into the hypersonic range. His tactics are pretty simple. When he's wearing the Berserk armor, he doesn't really rely on his rather cunning tactics that he does in his base form. He is very savage and to the point. He has very good fight instincts and is able to out-sword duel somebody like Grunbel when they had their battle. So he doesn't lose any of his combat skill per se, but his strategy more or less boils down to rushing down the opponent as fast as possible. In terms of range and abilities, he mostly focuses on his sword, which is the Dragon Slayer. It is able to cut urethral forms, or things that don't have a physical shape. And he also uses his cannon that is now built into his left arm. This is the only one of Guts' tools that he ever has actually used in Berserk mode. He has other bombs and daggers, and like the repeater crossbow, but we've never seen him use them in Berserk mode, so he likely just won't do that in character. Perhaps his most notable ability is the Berserk Armor's ability to heal him or keep him alive. I say heal with a little bit of doubt, as it doesn't as much heal him as it does stitch his body back together if he gets hurt. Say if he breaks his arm, it will just tie up his bones and his like all of his muscles together, but it doesn't necessarily heal them as much as just shove them together and keep them working for the time being. This also does make him passively immortal, as he will not die unless he's like absolutely crushed or drained of all of his blood. He will not revive, however, if his brain or maybe if his heart is destroyed, as it's not like the Berserk armor is going to like repair his brain matter. It's only for his like limbs, parts of his chest, and stuff like that. His range obviously scales to the Dragon Slayer's several meters long reach, and the cannon can possibly be fired for tens of meters, as we see when he takes a shot at Griffith during the Black Swordsman arc. That more or less scales up how strong Guts is gonna be, and now we're going to be moving on to Chainsaw Man Denji. Chainsaw Man Denji is one of the strongest characters in the Chainsaw Man verse, only really rivaled by Primal Fears and the Gun Devil respectively. The Denji we are using in this fight is possibly slightly nerfed though, due to Makima's influence of trying to make him less feared across the world. So, in theory, this is potentially a slightly weakened version of Chainsaw Man Denji. However, we don't really exactly have his max scaling, so for this fight, we're just using the one from Control Devil Arc. For AP, it's pretty straightforward. Chainsaw Man Denji was able to shoot a hybrid through numerous skyscrapers, which equals out to 404 tons of TNT, which is on the upper end of multiple city block level. For his speed, he should certainly upscale from something like Quang Shi's beheading feat, which she was able to dart around and behead like dozens and dozens of people in what was basically like an instant, which should put him around Mach 6. And he should probably scale above this speed feat, as this was done by a non-hybrid Quang Shi, and as we see in the fight with the hybrids, he is scaling way above them, so his speed is likely much higher than this. Denji's abilities come down to raw, just powerful brute force. Most of Denji's tactics, even in not Chainsaw Man form, are just running and gunning at the enemy with his weapons. One of his most notable abilities for this fight is his downright busted regen factor. In his fight with Makima, she launches him into space with a telekinetic burst, and he's going to suffocate and die out in space, but to counter this, he rips out his own heart and then pelts it back to Earth like a baseball, and it regrows another Chainsaw Man, which is downright wicked levels of regen. Meaning to really put down Denji, you're gonna have to completely liquefy him or kill him on a plane that isn't physical. Other abilities is he's able to extend his chainsaws, like whips, which he does in the fight with the Bomb Devil. He has all the sort of enhanced perception. He's able to see from super far away during his fight. What it though is that Chainsaw Man has an ability where he can eat and devour devils and thus erase them conceptually from history. And while I think that this is a cool ability, this is pretty non-combat applicative because he would have to eat guts for this to work. So for those who are wondering why I'm not mentioning his existence erasure abilities, they're a little too niche to say that they'd work on guts. And we can't be sure they'd even work on something that isn't a devil or some type of conceptualized being. So, with that out of the way, let's get down to the actual scaling of the fight. When it comes to strength and durability, while Guts does upscale from Mozgus's breath, it's far and a cry away from Denji's skyscraper kicking feat, which Denji should scale to both from attack and durability, as he both kicked this person, but also had to feel the inverse force on his body, which is a part of Newton's physics. Even this is more of a casual feat from Denji, just kicking someone through a couple buildings. So realistically, he should upscale from this. This puts Denji around 4 times stronger than Guts, and 4 times more durable. But on the inverse side, where Denji is more durable and strong, Guts is ridiculously more fast. Guts was able to dodge lightning, which puts him close to around Mach 100. By comparison, Denji's more of a passive Mach 6, if not maybe a little higher. But even if you want to be really egregious and headcanon-y and say that he is like 2 to 3 times faster than Quang Shi, he's still like 10 times slower than Guts, which really puts into difference the speed in this battle. In terms of abilities, both of them have regen and partial immortality, where they can survive and come back after taking wounds that realistically no person should be able to survive. With that out of the way, let's get into how I think the fight's gonna go. Guts is significantly faster, so realistically the early parts of the fight are him going to be running circles around Denji, taking pot shots and then darting away, which he's been known to do. Meanwhile, Denji, who's significantly more durable, could probably tank most of these hits. It would go as a back and forth for a while, but Denji also can't really die in this scenario, as his regen is just downright crazy. It doesn't matter if Guts cuts him in half, or if he cuts off his head, Denji would just regrow a head, or a limb, or even an entire chunk of his body. The problem for Guts here is trying to get past Denji's regeneration, because it's freaking insane. He would have to borderline liquefy all of Denji's body to make him stop coming back. And even then, some statements later on in the manga almost seem to convince us that Denji can come back after being completely killed. So, what gives? Someone might say that Guts' Dragon Slayer has the ability to cut through ethereal bodies and negate healing because it attacks the soul, which does sound like a pretty fair assumption. However, this statement is kind of contradicted a lot in the manga. I really did reread through so much of Berserk to find like instances of where Dragon Slayer left permanent wounds, and we see that somebody like Grunvelg, in his fight with Guts impales his face and cracks his coronium skin. And he mentions this, and this wound's deep, and this should quantify for, like, the weapon having an astral wound and thus not healing properly. Though, when we see Grunvelg later in Fantasia, the wound isn't there, and he's perfectly fine, actually. So, there's no scar, there's no wound, he never mentions it again. So there's a good chance that this, regen negation is kind of niche and doesn't always work. And we also just haven't seen Guts take down somebody with the same level of regen that somebody like Denji has. He's fought down people who can regrow limbs and parts of their body, but to say that he's going to beat down somebody who can regen from, like, a single organ is kind of a bit of a stretch. That being said, while Guts will have an advantage early on just due to his sheer speed and just blitzing around Denji, he has no way to permanently put Denji down. Meanwhile, while Guts is possibly immortal and can like regen from like minor wounds and broken limbs and stuff, Denji could eventually tag Guts enough where his regen starts to break down, or if he hits him in the head or something and crushes his head, he would no longer be able to regen from something like that. And the problem with this fight is it's more of a war of attrition, because it's not a matter of if Denji's going to do this, as much as when. Denji doesn't need blood or have any sort of clause to his regeneration or immortality. He sort of just has it. While Guts is limited and can be pushed to a breaking point. And if Guts can't kill Denji, Denji's just going to outlast Guts. And eventually, despite the fact that Guts is faster, Denji's going to get one of these lethal blows on Guts and leave him as the winner. I do think this fight was really close, and I went back and forth a lot on whether or not Dragon Slayer would be able to kill Denji due to its astral properties, but I ultimately settled on Denji being a winner, just because of his sheer ridiculous amounts of regen, and Guts not having any really stable feats on regeneration negation. Thank you guys for watching. This video has been something I want to do for a while now. I have other videos in mind for this year, and I'm gonna try to upload more. But, like, I don't really know if that's gonna be the case. I'll do my best, though. I had an idea for the next video being a Griffith versus Makima video, which is more of a parody, but tell me what kind of videos you guys want to see. I kind of don't have anything consistent I want to do. I like power scaling, I like gaming stuff, and whatever I can really do, I might do. So if you have ideas, shoot it down in the comments, and I will catch you guys next time.